I played this game a lot, honestly, and overall, I'll have to say it was really fun. I enjoyed every second of it. I don't regret it. And as you know, I made a whole video dedicating to why this game was really fun and great too. So you can probably go watch that as well too, or whatever, honestly. Or you can watch my playthrough. And regardless, all I just want you guys to know is just at least know about this game, okay? Let it be out there, play it yourself, and honestly, you won't regret it because I know I didn't. Or you can watch somebody else does it or play it because sometimes they might be better than me. I'm a small content creator, so you most likely would never ever know me or see me again, honestly. But regardless, I'll still appreciate if you subscribe. But anyways, that's the whole point, just to get you guys to know that this game is out there. It's still there. You will play it. It's really fun. You won't regret it. But anyways, let's jump right into the video. The first vessel we're going to talk about is the Witch. Now, for the Witch, I had to put it here because honestly, the others, they get only better. As we proceed up, it gets much more better. But the Witch still has to be recommended here for as one of the baddest vessels, honestly, too, I found in Say the Princess, by purely her personality. I love her personality and her physiques, and her being a fairy just makes it more appealing. It just fits, honestly, and to the point where it's just like, it's just so much satisfaction for her tone of voice and her being cunning and devious like a cat, and just her being very cautious and stand like a cat and behave some sort of like a cat. You can watch her face expressions change as she's looking at you and interact with her, where she becomes pretty, I forgot the word, what? Like cunning, devious, something like between the line? I can't remember the word, but she just really like, she taunts you, honestly, and then she becomes very cocky and something like that. I don't know. Whatever the word, I'll put it here if I ever find it or some shit. But regardless, that's why I like her here, and that's why I consider her pretty damn bad. And overall, her being a fairy just makes it much more better. If she was human, I don't think it would have fit the same as her being like a furry beast, honestly. And overall, that was a good decision to make her an animal, half animal or half human, hybrid, whatever, where it's just... it just gives it more better taste, and well, like I said, it's more fitting. But yeah, as I said before, that's why I had to include it here, where she's not horrible or that crazy enough to be considered as bad, but just as bad enough to be in that equivalent of baddest vessel here. The next one we have is the Thorn. What makes the Thorn pretty bad is her personality. In this case, towards my preferences here, I just like how she wants to become a better person, honestly. Where she just wants to grow, become someone better, and leave the past behind her, and get past all the bad blood, honestly. And once you do that, she's starting to feel more redundant to trust you, honestly. And she actually appreciates it, and at that point, she breaks her old shell, and that shell shatters and becomes, well, a new shell that's more inclined to actually be more cooperative and in many cases probably much nicer than the one she has right now. However, if you don't do this correctly or you fail to convince her, you may or may not end off astray from that path and becomes more resilient, honestly, and she becomes more, I like to say, mean and rude, but in the sense here, she's more self-defense, honestly, and she's more protective of herself, to the point that you failed to convince her and you failed to ultimately change her mind, and all you did was just prove her right. And when you prove her right, she will spite you, and she will always spite you just by that, and there's no going back once that happens. Now, another thing we just have to talk about too is just her physique, honestly, too. And the biggest thing with her physique, it's average, it's not bad, it's pretty good here too. And the only thing you have to take consideration is the thorns, and that's probably like the only thing you have to worry about. Because if you look at her thorns, it actually covers her body, or whole body. Funny thing is, too, it's just up to her chest level. It kind of does cover her chest, literally. The only thing that's weird about that is, like, it makes her bleed, but for some reason she's not bleeding. So I don't know how that works, but regardless, that's the thing, and if you like that, be my guest, but I guess watch out for the thorns, honestly. But yeah, that's the thorn thing, yeah. She's not that horrible, but still pretty damn bad. Now, the next vessel is Happily Ever After. Now, I know some of you guys would be very confused as for why would she be considered as a baddest vessel, honestly. But in my personal favor, I just love her a lot, honestly, where that she was just really well written. The way that her personality is, the way that she just looks, and the way that her, well, entire being was so good. It was so effective and so, like, compassion, and the way that you can just relate to her or just be with her, honestly, or just, I like to say that you're just able to be cooperate with her. Honestly. And to that point where it's just like, well, let's be honest. You wouldn't really turn down a gal like her, honestly. And for this princess, she was really good. I just love her, honestly. And it was just kind of tragic how things ended. And honestly, too, you did give her a brief moment of happiness before she disappeared. And overall, I say this is better, honestly, where it's just, it hits harder. That's for sure. You're actually more able to relate with her, and you're actually more able to collaborate and be more intertwined with her than like the one I mentioned before, the witch. Which it makes sense why the witch would be there, but overall, I say that this one's pretty better than her, honestly, in all cases. Just by purely her story and her whole character as herself was just so impactful for me. And it hits so hard as now that you realize why and how she got here. It's just a whole different meaning. And, well, like I said, it really just becomes, well, I like to say revolutionary to the point where you understand her and you are more compassionate to her, honestly, and you just feel better connected with her as she becomes more truthful and honest as the story goes on. And, you know, when she actually cries her heart out, it's just like, it hits hard, alright? It hits really different, and honestly, I don't regret it. That's what makes her pretty damn bad, honestly, here, where it's just like, she's very compassionate, she's very fitting, she's very, you know, cooperative, honestly, too. So, I wouldn't regret her painting her in this category, honestly, because for me at least, she fits it perfectly. And despite her not having any other personalities or aspects, honestly, she was still good. That's why I had to put her in here in this list, just by purely out of spite of everything about her was just so appealing, and it just fits her entirely. Up next, we have The Eye of the Needle. Now, you can probably tell this one is like an absolute no-brainer, because by just looking at her in the very first encounter, you can tell a lot just by, well, looking at her physique, honestly, here. And when I say that, you saw what I saw, alright? Thick thighs, honestly, okay? That's the first thing I saw, and that's literally the first thing that I thought, honestly. I'm like, holy shit! I'm not kidding. And I'm just gonna be respectful here, too. I'm looking at her respectfully, okay? That is some crazy muscles right there, too. And I don't know if you have a fixation of muscles, and if you do or you do not, then this may or may not be like a good thing or a bad thing on you, depending on what you like, honestly. It would depend on the outcome of this situation here. But regardless, we're going to focus on the good stuff only. So right here, she's purely by muscle. So if her calves are muscle, her thighs are muscle, that means her upper body is purely muscle as well, too. And another great feature is that she's pretty damn big as well. So she's pretty tall to the point where I think she's like roughly between 8 to 9 feet at least. And that's crazy tall, actually. And it also doesn't help, too, that she's partially non-human. So I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be a demon or something between that. I thought she was like some reptile or dragon, some type of thing, honestly. But I don't know. Regardless, whichever one she is, that was making her much more better than rather being a human, honestly. But then again, too, it's just like, it's all up to preference. And for my preference, I think I like her as a hybrid, honestly. Slash human, slash whatever. I don't know what the hell she is entirely. It kind of just lost me a track there as I played throughout this game. But regardless, she's pretty thick. Okay? That's the main important thing. She's thick, she's big, she's tall. And perfect category. Such perfect category, honestly. And overall, you can probably declare as the baddest vessels, honestly, here. But, however, we cannot, because her personality is lethal. And by when I say lethal, I really mean lethal. Where to the point where, like, she's very physical, honestly. And I guess she's more like a sadist, or sadist, however you say that. I never figured out the official way to pronounce it, and I never will. But regardless what I just said there, it's just like, she loves making you suffer, okay? She likes to deliver pain and hit you a lot, and loves physical confrontations. So maybe that's not a good thing, depending how's that used, honestly, here. But in any case, regardless, it's pretty like a yandere, honestly, if I'm using that correctly, where she gets very crazy and then just might just I don't know, break your limb, maybe two, maybe your whole face, I don't know, depending. So I guess proceed with caution, and that's probably why she's like a little bit down here, honestly. But still, regardless, she's still pretty bad. And like I guess it's more like a one-trip journey. It's just a one-trip journey. That's it. That's all you get. However, the other ones are like the same thing, but even better. Next, we have the polythesis. Now, for the polythesis, this one's kind of hard because, by any means, she really did broke the physique meter here somehow. I don't know, but yeah, regardless, she did broke it. She's just absolute stunning, and it's just nearly impossible to just scale her, honestly, because for starters, she's big. Okay, she's really big. She became a goddess to the point where it's just like she's like her own planet, honestly, and that's insane. The weirdest part about this too is just like how it works, because it's just so hard to explain. There's so much to talk about, but I'm just going to do my best here, okay? And I guess the first thing we're going to start off is her appearance. So, as you know, there's no clothes, okay? She doesn't wear clothes. She wears these weird eyeball bandages around her parts, and it's just very confusing how that works because it's just all over her, and it works as like a little, like a mummy, honestly. And I guess that's something. I mean, I know it didn't leave to anything to the imagination. Her own physique just, you know, it's just quite visible. It was just too easy to not ignore, and just way too simple just to ignore it entirely. So, regardless, you can't ignore that. That's just up in your face. That's insane. I like it, honestly. But regardless, that's insane. And overall, it doesn't help too that she's a giant or pretty damn big, regardless of the take. That just makes it even more appealing and more effective, and amplifies the effect that she's barely wearing anything but just a couple bandages, and it just makes it worse on their towards that feeling, because now it's just like, oh, you're getting more aroused at this point, and just like, fuck, I'm supposed to be afraid of her. Exactly, what am I doing? I'm folding, that's what's happening. But regardless, physique is crazy, and I also just gotta mention too, it's just like, I just love how she was just done here, honestly. It was very fitting. And overall, perfect, okay? Really good. It was really good. I like it a lot, and that's what makes her very strong here. Just by her physique alone was just enough to make it a pretty much definition a baddest specimen. But, however, we're not done, okay? We still gotta go over about her personality here. So, the only thing about her personality is that, you know, like how all gods are kind of self-centered pricks, honestly? Well, she's kind of like the exact same thing, but rather nice about it, okay? She had more compassion than most gods in here, but like, this is like Greek pathology, honestly, here. And when I say that, I really mean that because, for starters, she's kind to you, okay? She's not gonna out bluntly just destroy you just out of pure, let's just say for fun, or some other dumb reason, honestly. But she does like you and she cares for you, honestly. And overall, she, I like to say she outshines you, honestly, but I think it's more like she believes that, so that she was better, honestly, by all means. That's probably what makes her pretty strong. But regardless, I think it's just like, it's more entirely up to her what she wants to feel as too, honestly. So it's like everything is dictated by her, and when it's dictated by her, practically she's like on the right sense, and you are all in the wrong sense, and you're just like a follower or a priest or some shit like that, or like a pet. But regardless how that works, honestly, that's like the end result, honestly, with being with her. So maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. Regardless, that's entirely up to you. How do you feel about that? But for me, at least, that's like, you know, pros and cons. So take it as however you will. But regardless, it's just like sheerly insane just how well done she was. And well, unlike the Eye of the Needle, this is not a one journey. I mean, it really is a one journey, honestly, but that you get to live. So that is better than die. It beats dying for sure. 100% it does beat dying. Up next, we have the Adversary. Now, the Adversary is by far my favorite vessel throughout this whole game. And the reason it makes her so lovable and enjoyable and why I like her a lot, honestly, is her personality. The reason with that personality being said is because it's very interactable. You're able to do multiple things with it, and whichever path you take, it's always different. There's no exact same thing. So even if it's on the exact same paths, the slightest inconvenience or the slightest thing you adjusted to will shift its path ultimately, and you go down a different route. And that's like the fun thing, where she's very adaptive to the point where, like, no matter what you do, she will just, like I said, adapt to that immediately and just shift this off and work from there. Which is fun, because now you can just screw around, honestly, and she'll still be there. But the funny thing is that regardless, however you screw around as much, you still end up where she wants you to go. That's the only crazy part. And that's like very crazy too, where like no matter what you do, you'll still be at where she wants you potentially to be, and you're going to hit that roadblock no matter what. So it's like she's always 2 steps ahead of you, honestly. And that could be seen like a good thing or a bad thing, regardless how you want to play with that. But overall, I'll say that's probably not the biggest main issue here. It's just a minority, honestly. But yeah, that's what makes her very favorable here and pretty damn bad. It's just how interactive she is and how much you could do with her is just by far off the scales, because by just sheerly interacting with her, you can do multiple things and she'll still do them with you. But in the end, you still do what she wants you originally to do. So something like that. I don't know what the terminology for that is. I still don't know how I could describe that. But that's the best I can think of and how much I can explain it properly here. But anyways, enough about that. We gotta talk more about her physique. Okay? So her physique has slimmed down a little bit here, where to the point where it's just not as crazy as the Eye of the Needle or the Apollo Thesis, where she isn't really jacked up or really thick in the right places, honestly. But she has that slim build. Built. She has a slim fit to the point where, well, she's still good looking and she's still, strong and tall, honestly, too. That's also something that I should mention as well. Like, she's still tall, she's still built, she's still slim, but regardless, she lost that thickness, honestly. And here she has none, so it kind of makes it really just lose points, honestly, here. And I say that as like it's a bad thing, but honestly, this is entirely up to preference. Sometimes people don't like the thickness to be that thick or just so much of it. So that's why she's up here, because like I said, she's a delicate balance. And with that set balance, it just makes it easier to deal with, because now you get a good taste of her personality and her physique overall. And when you mix up those two good elements together, you get a good outcome, which is why she has to be here in the second placement of the baddest vessels here. As for the next one, will be determined the baddest vessels. Now, it took me a long time to make this video because I wasn't really sure what could be declared the baddest vessel throughout this game. So it took me a while to do some research, my own research, to figure out which one would be considered the baddest. And overall, I organized them in a neatly ordered fashion from least to the greatest, and in the end, I found that the Tower is the baddest vessel in the game. Now, the reason why the Tower is the baddest vessel in the game, it's by her personality and her physique. And for both of these factors, they're very overwhelming. Like, they're so overwhelming, and I like to say that it's just a strong mixture of all the 3 vessels I just mentioned previously. And those 3 vessels are the Eye of the Needle, the Adversary, and the Apollo Thesis. With those 3, her personality and physique has a mixture for all of them. And it's just crazy because it is just so fitting, and you get a taste of every single one of those 3 types, and you get this. And this is just by far unexpectedly very good. And I like it, honestly. Oh, I'm not kidding. It's very good. Now, we're going to talk about her physique first here, because that's on the shorter half of explanation. And the main reason why that her physique is outstanding is because, unlike the Adversary, she's not really too buff, but slim enough to be considered good. Alright? And then when on the Eye of the Needle, she's not too thick, but she's just very thick enough to be considered better than average, honestly. And then now the Apollo Thesis, she's not too big, but just right amount of mixture just to be considered, well, good. With that being said, she's better than average, but not too much, so she's on that limit of perfection, honestly, which is probably what they were striving for the tower, honestly, here. And then now, with that being said, it's just like it's like making a cookie, honestly, where you just gotta add a bunch of ingredients just to make the cookie or cooking dough. And here, if you just take into consideration what I just said here with those 30 facts, honestly, this is crazy. With this element of the tower physique here, it works. It's just so indulging and it's so effective and appealing to the point where like it captures all the 3 best pieces and you put into one and you get this, and this is just outrageous. It's just bonkers. And what also amplifies this effect too is her personality, where it just gets even crazier from there too. And now focusing on the personality for half here, it's like the same thing as her physique, where it just takes it like the main key elements of the other 3 vessels and make into this personality here. Whereas for the adversary is more playful and a little bit more teasing wise, honestly, there too. It's more focused around that, and it's just like that's the piece they took from the adversary to put in here for her personality. And then for the Eye of the Needle, they took her aggression, and that aggression's kind of very direct in, let's just say interaction or impatience, whatever you want to say. It's just her aggression, how she just proceeds and such too. They kept that part in for this type of personality. And then for the last element for her, the tower personality here, which is the polythesis, is the godhood. Now, the tower knows that she's ascending to godhood, and she knows that she becomes something greater. So she's kind of a little bit self-centered on herself, but still not entirely like focused on that point, not yet at least. Which is what the part they took from the polythesis and put into tower. And that's how you get the tower personality, just by those 3 vessels. And overall, that's what the tower is. The tower is just all the best elements taken from those 3 vessels and jammed into one. And this is what you get. This is crazy. And I know that the tower is not my favorite, but that's partially because of one reason. And, well, you don't really get to do much with her. That's the sad part. I really wish you could do more with the tower for her path, but you really don't. You really just like straight in and straight out. Unlike the adversary, where you're able to do multiple things and still get the same results regardless, or like the other ones too, and they're kind of like more linear as well, but slightly more explorational than the tower, because for the tower, you really just have 2 paths to do. There's also a 3rd path, but regardless, it's still small, and that's why that really sucks about the tower, where it's just not long enough to go in deeper. And if it ever does go deeper, it'll probably be very good, honestly, and just be like a no-brainer to see which one's the baddest vessel. But yeah, that's why I have to say the tower is the baddest overall, where it's very heavily afflicted with all those 3 key elements of all those 3 vessels, and it's just, well, it works perfectly. And this is what you get as a result. And I won't regret it saying this, but the tower is really the baddest vessel in Slay the Princess, where she's just perfect. Like, you can't hate her. It's impossible to hate someone like her. I mean, in reality, maybe, but here, no. Exactly. Never. You can't. I refuse to hate her. Because she's just very fun and interactive, just like the adversary, and then so overwhelming like the polythesis, and, as you know, good builds, honestly, just like the Eye of the Needle, where it is such a good cookie, okay? And in this terminology, when I use the cookie, I mean a good mixture of those key elements from those 3 vessels I just mentioned, and you just get this. And this cookie is goddamn tasty, and I will eat it over and over and over again, and I won't regret it till I die. But yeah, that's my basically opinion about what's the baddest vessel in Slay the Princess. And overall, if you don't really agree with me here, that's okay, because that's your opinion overall. But regardless, that's how I feel about this, and, well, like I said, the tower is definitely the baddest princess for the baddest vessel in Slay the Princess. Alright, that's it for this video here. If you guys agree, let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, probably subscribe if you're new here or something like that. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure as well. This is my first time doing something like this. And overall, I think I like it. And with what I have and what I can just do at the moment right now, this is pretty cool. And overall, I think that I'm actually having a lot of fun doing this stuff too. Despite how small I am, actually, it's just kind of crazy that people still watch this dumb shit. Even though it's very stupid, it's still fun to do and it's still hilarious. But regardless, that's all I have to say here, and I'll let you guys go.